Welcome everyone. Those stories shortly, but first, Pakistan says it has rescued journalist Zeenat Shehzadi. This after 2 years. Pakistan says Shehzadi was kidnapped by so-called non-state actors. Now, if you will remember, Zeenat Shehzadi has been working to secure the release of Indian engineer Hamid Ansari. Nihal was taken in Pakistan back in 2012. Later, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Shehzadi is free, but what about the Indian national Ansari?
The first thing she told me that, see auntie, I would like to help you, but first I have to ascertain that his action was not wrong. He has not come for any wrong action. So whatever conversation of Facebook friends you have, so you please forward everything. So he has Facebook conversation with 5 or 6 people of Pakistan. So each chats were about 200 pages, 250, 150 pages, and each I have sent. She went through all that, she read, she took time, and then she said, okay, she came to know that his intention was not wrong. His intention was just to help a friend whom he befriended on Facebook. Since she was very much sure that his intention was not wrong, so she agreed to help. For that, she said that she would.
Again, the big question at this point, what happened to Hamid Ansari? Well, it was Jas Upal, a barrister in the United Kingdom and a human rights activist, who brought out the plight of Ansari to Zeenat Shehzadi's notice. In fact, Upal says Pakistan's behavior is worse than that of North Korea.
It annoys me. Why would anyone want to go to Pakistan, which is an unstable state, and spy on them? They are paranoid. They're worse than North Korea. They really need to get their act together. He's a young man. He's not, he's educated. He's an engineer who worked, did a lot of charity work. He worked voluntarily at the Rotary International. And a lady made out that she was going to be married off to an elderly man, as happens in these countries. And so he felt he needs to do the decent thing and rescue her. And that's his crime, to care. He's certainly it's very vague espionage. What on earth, what proof have they got? They never show it. You can't just make these allegations. And they don't demonstrate it in court. What wonderful secrets that they have, he's alleged to have taken away from Pakistan. It's extremely childish. It's quite embarrassingly childish the way, and you don't expect a state to behave like that. They really need to get their act together.
Again, a quick recap. Ansari was given a 3-year jail term in Pakistan on spying charges. He is still in jail. Journalist Zeenat Shehzadi kidnapped while pursuing Ansari's story. And it's been 2 years now. Pakistan says that Shehzadi was in fact kidnapped by so-called non-state actors. She's been working diligently to rescue Indian engineer Hamid Ansari, who was taken to Pakistan in 2012 and sentenced to jail for 3 years. The journalist is free, but again, what about the engineer? Again, the case from the UK barrister and a human rights activist brought the plight of Ansari to the journalist notice. Shehzadi's, the UK's Upal says Pakistan's behavior, though, is worse than North Korea. Now, back in Peshawar, Nihal Ansari's lawyer, Qazi Muhammad Anwar, the client, says he was repeatedly targeted in Pakistan's jails and has been mentally tortured, kept in a death cell with hardened criminals. All right, let's go straight to Pakistan, where we're now joined by our Pakistan Bureau Chief, Taha Siddiqui, joining us from Islamabad. Taha, how is this story being played out there in the Pakistani media? And the big question is, what happened to Ansari?
Well, there's very little information as to actually what happened, and basically that was what a particular journalist that the case is about, was investigating. From what we understand, basically that he appeared, suddenly and was tried in a military court and is a sort of, in a way, it's a court-martial rather than a normal civilian sort of a case. The military courts are the proceedings there are not in public. They're not transparent. No information further than the fact that who is being tried and on what charges and what the punishment is, and even that's after the trial has been conducted, then that kind of information is disseminated to journalists. So definitely not a lot of answers here when it comes to these. A lot more questions with regards to the way the Pakistani authorities have dealt with him.
Let me also ask you, when it comes to the disappearance or the alleged abduction of the journalist, I mean, certainly that's closure for one of the families, but still a lot of missing pieces to the puzzle when it comes to Ansari. I mean, what more are we learning about the kidnapping or the alleged abduction?
Well, as far as like Ansari, we know like he's appeared in a military court and that whole aspect happened. But as far as Zina Shahzadi is concerned, she's after coming back, now she's like missing as the whole family is missing in the sense that the whole family is relocated. They're not giving up their whereabouts. They're not talking to the media. I was talking to some journalists from Lahore, where she is from, and they sort of feel that she might have come back with that sort of a deal of maintaining silence about her whereabouts and who abducted her and how she ended up in the tribal belt, or whether she was there to begin with or not. So all of these things, there seems to be somewhat of a deal, and she's returned after 2 years. And because of which, the neighborhood that she used to live in, in that particular neighborhood, her house where her family was living in while she was gone, that house now is locked, and the family has relocated even before the journalist turned back home.
And Tala, well, let me also ask you, in terms of freedom of the press, how exactly does a precedent in a case like this really portray about the freedom for journalists in the country, whether it was an Indian national or not? But what does this have to say about freedom of the press, which is something that you are familiar with yourself, being a journalist in Pakistan, specifically to this case?
Well, definitely. I mean, Pakistan, most of the people refer to Pakistani journalism or the media industry as very vibrant and very, large and huge, and with a lot of channels out there, more than 30 channels covering just news, a number of newspapers and all that. But there are certain limitations and there are certain taboos, and those taboos begin with definitely the Pakistan military. Then there are taboos on talking about religion and issues related to religion. And when somebody treads into these sort of topics, definitely threats from state actors and anti-state actors has been sort of routine. We've seen that since 2000. So around about 9/11, when 9/11 happened and war on terror started getting reported from Pakistan, with a lot of stories coming out of Pakistan. Since then, more than 100 journalists have been killed in Pakistan. That's around about one journalist almost almost a month round about, if we calculate the monthly sort of average. So, and then a number of journalists have been attacked, a number of channels, news channels, a number of newspapers have been threatened to shut down or have shut down through other coercive means. So definitely when it comes to Pakistan and the International Index of, freedom for press, Pakistan ranks on the lowest and has been one of the most dangerous countries since in 2011, 12, and up until 14. Now it has been downgraded a little bit. So definitely it's press freedom in Pakistan is very limited and is very restricted for certain few topics that you can talk about.
All right, Taha Siddiqui getting us the very latest on this story from Pakistan. Taha, thank you for all of those updates.